Hi, and welcome back to Rooted at Badger Rock's virtual workshop series. We are out here in the garden. We're going to be doing a little bit of gardening workshop today. So right now it is the end of July, July 24th or 25th, July 25th. So we're getting near about midway in summer, and some of our stuff is coming out of our garden right now. We're doing a lot of harvesting, which means we're also clearing a lot of our rows out of stuff that we planted in the springtime. So now we have a lot of open beds and we have more space that we can actually plant some more stuff. We can do some midsummer planting, some early fall planting as well. So I'm just going to be going over some of the things we can get that you can actually keep your garden going, go through the fall, maybe even into like late fall, early winter, even if you have some like season extension stuff too as well. But yeah, right now, like I said, end of July, we just harvested potatoes this week. We harvested garlic, onions. We've been harvesting our greens all summer long as well. A lot of things are still kind of getting there. Tomatoes, peppers, things that have a lot of bigger fruits are still coming. But we want to try to get our season going a little longer, so we want to plant a few more things right now with our open spaces. So we have a red-tailed hawk flying around us right now. But some of the plants that we can plant right now, mid-season, we want to plant things that are only going to take about maybe 3 months or less. So maybe like 90 days or less is kind of what we're looking for. If you started planting maybe like end of June, you could get away with stuff that's maybe around between like 90 and 100 days. You always want to check when your last frost date is. I believe ours is right around Halloween time or so, maybe the end of October for our spot in Wisconsin here in Madison. So we're going to be looking for things that are maybe taking about 60 to 70 days. Like I said, we're at the end of July, so we only have August, September, maybe about half of October if we're lucky. So that's going to give us maybe around 60 to 80 days, I think, of a good window. So we want to look for plants that are going to have somewhere around there. Something like, we have bush beans, we have chard, turnips, lettuce, carrots. So a lot of leafy greens and as well as root vegetables are going to be really good because they're going to be quicker, and they'll also be a little bit, they'll be able to survive in some light frost as well too, just because once we get towards the end or towards the fall time, it's going to start getting cold, and then if it does end up getting a little bit cooler than we're expecting, we want to have some plants that are still going to survive that. So yeah, that also includes like beans, lettuce, carrots, summer squash we can even get away with right now. Cucumbers are great. They survive, or they do well with a little bit into the fall time. What else we got? Okra. Okra is another really good one. Only about 60 days worth that we need to plant that until it starts to fruit. So we're just looking for stuff that goes quick, like winter squash, tomatoes, maybe like peppers. Those are kind of out of the question because they especially need a lot more hot conditions, warmer conditions to really fruit. So those are kind of out of the question, but cooler season crops are something we're really going to look for. But yeah, we're just going to show you kind of some of the things we got going on in the garden as well, show you where we'd like to plant some stuff for fall and late summer planting. So first example we have over here, we have our mustard greens. So mustard greens we planted in the springtime. We've also done some succession planting of this as well. So these are right at their full maturity. They're starting to flower, as you can see. If you actually just want to let these go, they'll flower and they'll start to form their own seed pods. And you can actually just collect these, and then you can have more mustard green seeds to plant. You want to let them dry out and everything, harden up too though. But in this bed, we have mustard greens going to flower, but we've also planted some pretty recently. I wonder if there's any poking around down here. Some of them might have got weeded out already. Let's see if we can find an example. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's a little mustard green that we just planted. We got a couple in here. Might have to do a little bit more reseeding. Again, mustards, you can really just kind of direct sow. And then if you need to, you can thin them later. But yeah, that's probably just the easiest method. You have a lot of seeds, just kind of direct sowing in our beds. So mustard greens are a great example. If we go right behind us, we have our okra plants, and as you can see, our first succession of okras are already starting to produce fruits over here, so we're going to actually harvest these today. But this is another example for end of July, only about 60 days, so these could be ready if we planted them right now. They'd be ready end of August, or probably about the end of September. So we could actually get a harvest with these ones. Again, these ones we probably just want to plant directly. You can just plant a seedling or a seed directly into the ground. And yeah, those will be really good. They're bigger seeds too, so you can kind of go a little bit deeper with them. A little bit easier. They won't just wash out right away. We'll continue on. We actually had this bed. This was our potato bed that we planted in the springtime. We actually just harvested this last week with our class for our summer school program here at Badger Rock. So we just harvested these now, but we could actually do another succession of potatoes. And then potatoes will take about 60 days, I believe, or so. So another good one that we can do. I think we actually left some potatoes in this bed. So who knows, maybe there'll actually just be some that will actually pop up anyway. Some volunteers that we just left in there. Another example we could plant. We have our collard greens here. For collard greens, they can be maybe taking a little longer, but if you could start them from seed in the greenhouse, transplant them, they'll definitely come up quicker. But you could just do some direct seeding with collards as well, and they'll actually be pretty hardy, and they'll last into late fall, maybe even early winter if it's kind of milder in the early winter, early December even. So another great option, very hardy, very good for the cold. Let's see, moving on. Right over here we have our bean trellis. So we grew peas on here in the springtime, and now we have beans growing on here. So we're actually collecting our beans right now. This is another one that's really good that we want to plant in right around this time. Let me see, what were green beans for time-wise? These are 55 days of maturity. So if we plant them now, again, right around end of September, mid-September, we'd be getting some harvesting. But yeah, these are really good. And as I mentioned, we also grew peas on here. Peas are another one we can put a little bit later. You don't want to put them directly in at like in the middle of summer, just because they don't do very well in the hot weather. So you could actually plant these a little bit later, maybe even into like end of August, and it'll actually be really good because then you'll have some cold peas in the fall time. They'll be really delicious. They taste better, a little sweeter once they get a little bit cold. So that's that one. As I was just talking, we already have our second planting of beans here. So we planted these maybe about a week or two ago. They're already coming up really nicely. So these will be just bush beans. So these will just be hanging out. We'll probably harvest these around September as well. So just some really, oh, looks like maybe some are getting a little chomped out here a little. They're just starting to open up. Yeah, then there's beans. Another fun one that you can still get away with right now would be summer squash. Summer squash is only, let's see how far we got, 48 to 55 days of maturity. So we actually planted some of our earlier squash right here just about a week or so ago. It's already coming up very well. We have our squash. We planted these maybe around the end of May, I believe. So these are coming up. They'll start to be fruiting soon. We'll be harvesting these pretty quick. But yeah, summer squash is another really good one. Just kind of going off of what I was saying before, leafy greens. So we could also do like kale, broccoli, and cabbage. But they would just be ones you'd maybe want to try to start in a greenhouse, in a pot. Try to get a transplant going before you put it into the garden. Just so that you can have a better chance of it surviving. If you're direct sowing, a lot of times they'll just be growing up really quick. They need a lot more space. So just transplanting always just helps kind of for placement, planting wise as well. And yeah, same with broccoli. Just want to take a little extra time to make sure they survive or do well in the ground. But overall, cabbage, collards, kale, even broccoli all do really well into the late fall, colder seasons. Got more cabbage. What else do we got around here? More kale. But yeah, that's kind of the major ones. Yeah, I guess I touched on. You can direct seed a lot of carrots, beets, root vegetables. What else do we have? Yeah, that's quite a bit of it, honestly. We could demo a little bit. Oh yeah, one last thing I wanted to show you was just for potatoes. We actually had a few potatoes that we left over from last year, and they're sprouting, but they're actually perfect seed potatoes. So we're actually going to go show you just what that looks like really quick. We'll pop over. Around our squash. Alright. So over here, this is actually our garlic bed. We still got to do some garlic harvesting out of here. And actually, we had a few leftover potatoes. So we had some volunteers coming up. So we'll actually start harvesting these as well. But what I wanted to show you was we have an old potato that we never ate. I think this is actually from last year. But as you can see, it started to sprout. It's got all these little roots coming out of it. So actually, we can actually just use this. This will become our new potato plant. So if I had a shovel, I would dig a nice little hole down here. Try and get it decently deep. As always, you want to try to find an eye. I guess this one has a lot of eyes, so we could actually just plant this straight into the dirt. All of these will actually start rooting into the ground. They'll start forming new roots, and then one shoot they'll actually shoot up. It'll form into the plant of the potato. And then this will be about maybe 45 or 50, 60 days or so. And then we'll get a new potato plant and then some more potatoes. Potatoes are great too because you can actually store them in the ground once they're ready, maybe for about a month or two. They'll actually hold into the ground as long as it's not too moist. So these could even be harvested maybe in like November or so, as long as the ground's still good. But yeah, that is some of the examples of late or midsummer planting, trying to keep your garden going into the fall time. Yeah, and just trying to utilize as much of the space as you can, even after you harvest stuff in the summertime. Trying to get as much out of it as we can. But yeah, that's what I wanted to show with you all today with our garden workshop. And yeah, I just want to thank you all for joining us as always, and we'll see you here for the next one. Thank you.